Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another historical humans heritage. And in today's episode, we are tying back to our most recent podcast. We are revisiting our first UNESCO World Heritage site, or the first time we're revisiting a site. We're going back to Brasilia, where we are looking at Brazil's capital, and we are going to be talking architecture. We're going to be talking beliefs, opinions, design, architectural masterpieces, even.
Yeah, we're going to we've come back here after our talk of the federal district and founding of that city, and we're going to get a little bit more into the architecture this time around with the visual aids for everybody. So this is a fun little video we promised, and we're going to I'm going to keep up to that promise here.
The funny thing is, I think the reason we did the podcast episode is because of our first UNESCO video on
The first time we
Brasilia.
tried to do this. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably what got you on the bend. As we can see, starting us off strong today with this UNESCO World Heritage Site is the bowl that serves as part of the
The Giants
square of
for Ramens exhibit,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It serves as part of the square of three powers. It is the meeting place of the Chamber of Deputies, so it's a very important bowl for the nation and people of Brazil. Um, and you can see right here, just something to talk about is the access ways. Look at how you get around the city. There are three access ways going on in the first picture alone. You have the lower road to get into the main connecting building that holds a lot of the annexes and general structures for the for the running of the government. Then you have this higher road, this sort of ramp that leads up to the dome and the bowl and the two giant towers in the background,
Yes.
the two brutalistic towers in the back. And then, of course, off on the right hand side, there's a third access point, which is for all the cars driving up and down the monumental axis, trying to get from one end of the city to the other. God help them.
Yeah, the roadways of the city are not the best designed, but then if you actually go into the images, you'll see a more up close version of the bowl, the twin towers, and the dome. And you can also see like the gangways between the towers that allow access, and you kind of get a viewpoint for how the city is laid out. I mean, they're all intertwined on the same campus, so you can tell that there was intended to be some unity. The parallel nature between the three structures, I mean, you could tell that they're all meant to be whole. They're all meant to mimic each other, to mirror each other. There's a lot of parallels.
Yeah, and you can see going into the gallery, with a lot of the architecture, you can tell people were having fun with some of it, especially with this genetically sequenced bridge that I have located.
Ah, yes, the one that
Yeah,
looks like a double helix.
yeah. The someone was having too much fun with suspension.
No, they just got done reading Watson and Crick, and they just really took inspiration.
Yeah. There's also was there on the first page alone. There's I believe three different shots of the cathedral that we talked about in the podcast. You can sort of see what we were talking about with the parabolic sort of hourglass curving shape on the beacon of the cross, which the sort of blue translucent glass.
It very
Uh,
much almost gives me like a cooling tower, a nuclear reactor cooling tower vibe.
yeah. Well, it is where you go when you think the world's going to go into meltdown.
Oh, that's a little too poetic.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a number of other structures that are being showcased. We got kind of a side, sort of waterfront view of the bowl. A couple of monuments to various individuals throughout. There's just sort of sorry, my throat there.
No, it's a
Uh,
very beautiful designed city. You see a lot of symmetry. You see a lot of parallels. There's a lot of perfectionism. I mean, that very much is very emblematic of the style, of the modernist style. You see the combinations that we mentioned during our podcast episode, where you start seeing the usage of the three modern building materials. I mean, you've got glass, you've got concrete, and you've got steel holding these buildings up, and it truly shows that because this is around the time that you start seeing these large glass facades, and that is only possible with having the steel superstructure and concrete holding the outside of it, and allows the front of the building to effectively just become like a frame in front of it. It no longer is supporting, it's no longer weight bearing, so you're able to do a lot more with the view. You're able to decorate a lot more. I mean,
yeah. And speaking of views and decorating a lot more, one of the very fun things on this heritage site with the images is if you go to page 3, the one that begins with the safety hazard spiral staircase. The images tab, you can get to see some alternate views of like the dome where the I believe it is the Senate of Brazil meets. You can sort of see some of the access ways into that dome that you don't get to see from the front.
ooh, interesting.
You get to kind of see the ramps into and out of this very much igloo-looking structure. um, it's very much a system of elevated ramps creating 2 levels of access that people can enter from one level or another simultaneously.
Wow, and then you go a few more pictures down and you can see an inside view of the cathedral, which arguably I think the cathedral is more beautiful on the inside than it is the outside.
Yeah, and that is the purpose of the cathedral, why there's no doors there, so that you can have that perfect unobstructed view of the cathedral. Because right there where the glass sort of touches down on the walls there, that's ground level. Um, that so you are kind of underground when you walk into this structure. It is
Yeah, it's got like the
subterranean.
baseball stadium effect where you walk in at ground level and then the stadium's beneath
Yeah,
because you're up on the concourse.
yeah, definitely. And there's also to the left of that there's the artistic glass sort of lit up at night and sort of floating shimmering jellyfish almost kind of looking thing. I do
Not to
very much
mention that
like
the
it.
glass, the blue, is emblematic of the three rivers and the convergence on the parallel. I mean, it's all emblematic, it all ties back, it's all symbolic, which is
Yeah,
really fascinating.
yeah. I will say the one thing I did not expect was the suspended angel statues.
Yeah.
Uh, that did not come up in any of the architectural briefings prior to this. But yeah, just these visuals and even some of the behind the scenes visuals, like going into the dome and all that stuff, sort of show you how the as you turn the facade, the style turns into functionality, and the functionality then reverts back into more style as you continue to rotate the angle and viewership. And that really is why this city is considered a masterpiece. It was built by 2 masters of architecture under the uh, oversight of a third, even more senior master of architecture. Those individuals being, for those of you who might be popping in here first before going to our podcast, being Lucio Costa, Oscar Niemeyer, and Le Corbusier himself.
Le Corbusier, yes, very
Yeah.
interesting. And yeah, I think that's a great point for us to wrap up because we talked about the architecture of this. Please be sure to check out our podcast episode and be sure to, check out our other videos we got coming out this week. We love talking architecture and we love going back and forth about the credits and credibility of modernism in architecture.
Yeah. The validity of the bowl. The validity of that bowl.
Goodbye.